Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, here we are at the end of June, and today's Thursday, June 20th, and we're transitioning now into the summer solstice, the day of the summer solstice, which starts early tomorrow morning on the 21st. And the animation you're watching here was taken in the Arctic, and they had a camera trained on the sun and watched it for 24 straight hours. And it's amazing, on a day like this, the end of the spring and the very beginning of summer, the sun actually never sets in the Arctic, north of the Arctic Circle today. And so it just dances on the horizon like this. Now, if you're in the contiguous United States watching this video, we end up getting at the northern tier of states around, it's around 16 and a half hours of daylight. And down in the southern part of the U.S., so I'm talking about Texas, Florida, that region, about 14 and a half hours of daylight. So it's the longest day of year in terms of daylight hours. Now, since we're kind of starting this video off looking at some interesting imagery, I want to show you this radar imagery. This is an animation from early this morning, about 3 o'clock in the morning, from the radar near Lubbock, Texas. And when you see all of the echoes on this animation, the lighter colored stuff there, the bluer colors here, this is all clear air echo. But when you see those patches of very high radar reflectivity, like the ones that you see right here, those are actually from wind turbines. Now check this out. I want to go back to the 18th when a squall line moved just north of Lubbock. And so the main storm system is right in through here, and you can even see a hail core on this one. This line I'm tracing is the outflow of those thunderstorms. In other words, that would be where the shelf cloud would sit. Now watch this. As I take off my drawings, I'm going to animate this for us. You can see where the wind turbines are right here. As the squall line hits the wind turbine, something very interesting happens. Watch this. You see the outflow right here? It looks nice and smooth in a big arc. Well, as it hits the wind turbines, the friction with the wind turbines slows the outflow down, such that look at this. After the outflow comes through, see the V notch to it? It's actually completely slowed them down. And there's a lot of research going on right now to try to understand how wind turbines all across the United States are impacting boundary layer weather. And I just want to show you an example of that. Speaking of radars out of Texas, take a look at this monster. This was back on the 18th around 8:30 in the evening. There's a huge supercell thunderstorm that went racing through parts of the panhandle of Texas here, producing a very large hail core and a very well-defined hook echo. And I'm always in amazement at the beauty of these storms when we look at them like this, but this sucker was doing a lot of destruction here as it went over this part of Texas. So just neat to kind of see that. Okay, if I had to pick a place, and I don't like doing this, but if I had to pick a place that has really just been punched in the jaw over the last week and a half, I'd have to say it's this particular corridor in through here near the Ohio River. I'm talking about northern Kentucky, southern Ohio, southern Indiana, and parts of southern Illinois. This map just shows you the last 72 hours, but over the last week, we've had multiple reports of severe weather, including several tornadoes, and some locations right in through here have picked up a foot of rainfall. Just in the last 72 hours, we added another 3 to 4 inches in that area. In fact, when you look at this animation, this image, you can see that much of the country, save just a little bit right up here, and of course the West Coast, which is normally dry this time of year, has had a lot of thunderstorm activity. And that is the name of the game as we press forward in this forecast. Now, one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter, Daryl Hersman. You can follow him up there. There's his Twitter handle. You can also go to his website. I've linked it down here at the bottom. He produced a pretty amazing map. And what this map shows us here is the number of days so far this year where each National Weather Forecast Office and its district has had at least one flood warning posted. It's the 171st day of the year today. That means some locations in here have had every day with a flood warning. So this was posted yesterday, which was the 170th day of the year. It's incredible to see how wet things have been across the country here, and our ongoing flooding problem isn't going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, the All Hazards Weather Map still has a big chunk of the Ohio River Valley here dealing with flood watches, and the heavy rains that are moving through parts of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky today are going to be moving toward the northeast here, but we're also concerned about flooding. Meanwhile, come down south of this, we've got a region down here in Texas where we have heat advisories and heat warnings out. And that's because the pattern that is evolving is going to be one that's going to be very stormy and very hot at times. The main feature to discuss today will be this right here, this upper level trough sitting in this area. We do have a shortwave that's leaving off the east coast, and it will be producing a low pressure center that'll spin up here. It'll be interesting to see how this low pressure system's main front connects up with the new low pressure system that's sitting here. It'll be all along this corridor and actually stretching down into the central plains, on which I'm expecting to see a lot of very active weather. So let's kind of take a look at it. Starting off early in the morning, Michigan, Indiana, parts of Illinois still, getting over into Ohio, and then down here into the Tennessee Valley. This is where our early morning storms are starting on the eastern side of the country as the bigger low pressure system exits. As I animate you forward, you can see that system moving on off to the north and east throughout the afternoon and evening hours on Thursday, getting into early Friday morning. As the main front cuts through parts of Virginia, cuts through parts of the Carolinas here, we're going to have to watch out for the potential for strong to severe storms in that particular corridor later today. Meanwhile, our next upper level low is spinning here. Watch, you can see it really well defined in this animation. It will be bringing widely scattered showers and storms in through this corridor early and then again late in the forecast. So it's this morning and then popping again tonight, lasting into the overnight hours. Now, parts of North Dakota and then parts of southern Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. This region has been very dry, so they're thankful for this rain that is coming through. But we're going to watch this corridor for severe weather today. In fact, let's just flip this over to the Storm Prediction Center maps. Again, first front exits here, stretching across parts of the East Coast, watching for potential for strong to severe storms across a large section of the East Coast, from Pennsylvania all the way down through parts of Georgia and Alabama. Meanwhile, as the next system emerges here, okay, we're going to be watching for the ingredients to come together here in parts of the Central Plains, getting back into the Western Corn Belt there. So that's where you're watching out for strong to severe storms in the day on Thursday. Moving over toward Friday, the first low pressure system leaves and it drapes its front just like this into the next low pressure system, which will have a front right through there. So that's why we're watching this particular corridor for strong to severe storms on Friday, with again a chance coming down into parts of Texas and Oklahoma. In the day on Saturday, the system just continues to evolve. So it's now spinning like this, and there's the other front still tucked into there. So that's where we're going to be watching for our stronger to severe storms in the day on Saturday. So very stormy next 3 days coming up. Stretching this out to a week, we can see over here on the left the European model, over here on the right the GFS. Honestly, some pretty good agreement. I see this corridor having a lot of strong thunderstorms and a lot of rainfall. We can see that the models are really seeing the same regions, not a lot of disagreement. So we have a very stormy week that is coming up here, putting down across much of the United States here, except for where it's normally dry this time of year, here and here, an additional 1 to, in some locations, over 3 inches of rain. Now down here in the southeast, this quarter, a lot of hit or miss showers and thunderstorms, very normal daytime active, convection. But through the center part of the country, getting up into the high plains into southern Canada, quite wet. What about week 2? Got the European ensemble on the left and the GFS ensemble on the right. So we're looking at precipitation anomalies. We can see both models agree that this region is picking up on wetter than average conditions into week 2 as well. We do see some dryness down here and here, and it is showing up in both models. But I'm going to tell you something. We are still going to see daytime convection all through this area. What I mean is daytime thunderstorms in through this area. So even getting into week 2, things are continuing to stay wet and stormy. Although it is a little bit of a drier look than we have seen recently, it's still going to rain. Nothing is shutting down the fact that the Gulf of Mexico is wide open and there's plenty of moisture in the soil to be recycled by these thunderstorms. So getting out through your next 15 days, that's how things look here, okay? Now, what's the pattern doing that's getting us here? Well, it's going to feature this trough that develops in the north-central United States and retreats back west with time. I want to let this animation, though, get all the way out to when everybody across the U.S. is watching fireworks the evening of July the 4th. You see, the pattern by the time we get into the first week of July is going to have a strong jet stream coming out of the Pacific. It's going to dive down like this across the western United States and build into a slight ridge across the Intermountain West and through here. with an overall a broader trough that kind of sneaks through the eastern half of the country. And that trough that's into this area is what's going to prevent us from seeing just a long time period of well above average temperatures as we move into the month of July. And it's not going to let the storm settle down either. We're going to continue to see northwest flow coming off of this ridge right in through here, and that's going to keep this particular corridor active with a lot of showers and thunderstorms. We will see the rebounding of some heat here. It will be happening as we get into the end of June and the beginning of July. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Take you all the way back here. With time, this is Friday into Saturday and Sunday. You see the deeper trough is established here, but look at this ridge pushing into this area. Now this is the trough that's going to keep much of the center part of the United States very active with severe weather. But you noticed as I get you into Monday and into Tuesday and Wednesday that the trough retreats, actually it kind of pivots back around here to the western United States. That cools them down and allows for this ridge to build in here as we get into this upcoming Thursday and Friday of next week. And that ridge brings in some warmth. This will be some much needed warmth in the middle section of the country. In fact, we're going to talk about that in a few seconds here. But look at this. By the time we get out to the end of June and beginning of July, yes, we're going to start off with this warmer bias. But with time, the ridge appears to be shifting west. Northwest flow comes in and the thunderstorms come right back into the picture. And that's why you saw when I looked over this week and next week, we don't really shake that pattern of having an active weather. Now, before I talk temperatures and growing degree day units, I want to at least show you what's going on in terms of precipitation. What are we watching again? Low pressure forming here and exiting low pressure here heading on off to the north and east. It'll be the linking up of these frontal boundaries on which we see a lot of precipitation. Okay, a lot of drawing there, but that's what we're going to be dealing with. Okay, starting us off early morning on Thursday again. Remember, widespread showers from Michigan all the way down to the eastern Corn Belt draped down here. Some stronger storms moving through parts of Mississippi early this morning. As I press play and let this get going, though, let's get you out here to Thursday afternoon and evening. Our stronger to severe storms move through parts of the Carolinas, and that system exits. But remember, it's leaving its frontal boundary sitting right in through here. So it's that area on which new storms are going to form by Friday morning as the low forms in Montana and moves into Saskatchewan. Now look at this. That main frontal boundary sitting right here. I got you out to Saturday morning. This is our corridor for heavy rain and scattered showers and thunderstorms. As I push through Saturday afternoon and evening into Sunday morning, again, upper level low here, spinning, producing that low pressure system. Its front is draped in through this area. And now we're going to be watching our next low pressure system emerge on Sunday afternoon and evening and make its way toward Iowa. So there'll be scattered storms out ahead of it, and then along its main frontal boundary, which will stretch through here on Monday morning, in through Monday afternoon. And as that one goes off toward Wisconsin and the Great Lakes, it soaks all of the Great Lakes states in the eastern Corn Belt. So that's why we're staying so wet through Tuesday of next week. Now that system leaves, and you're going to look at this and go, oh, wow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, dry. Look at that. But remember, we are going to have a ridge building in here. The Gulf of Mexico is wide open underneath it. We have plenty of moisture in the soil. There's going to be storms erupting in this area. You're going to see it. I promise, middle of the week next week. Some folks may miss them and have a drier middle of next week. But toward the end of it, when the trough is now deep out here in the western United States, it'll be this corridor in through here that lights back up with northwest flow and thunderstorms again. So like I said, it's not a pattern that calms down anytime soon for any length of time. What about temperatures? Over the next 5 days, heat will be building in this area. In fact, we're going to be seeing some triple-digit temperatures down here in Texas and some high temperatures stretching across the southeast, while the bowling ball trough kind of moves its way back over to the west, keeping things cool there. Days 6 through 10, that ridge is now fully established, so it's going to run right in through this area. A lot of warmth getting way up there into Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and southern Canada, with the only cooler spot hanging out back here in parts of the Pacific Northwest. Now, since we're talking about temperatures, I'm going to show you some analysis I did last night. Okay, we know that a lot of folks didn't get to plant. I'm going to specifically talk about corn. They didn't get to plant corn until very late. Now, what I did was I went and I said, what if you planted 110-day corn on June 1st? To get to black layer, we need to get to somewhere around 2,600 growing degree day units. So I looked historically to see who would make it and who wouldn't make it. Now, what we have up here is 1983, upper right, 1988, bottom left 2010, bottom right 2012. Now, if you're a corn farmer in the United States, you recognize those years as being very hot summers. What I'm trying to show you here is if you planted 110-day variety corn on June 1st, anywhere that you see white on this map, that crop would not have matured by October 15th, which is the climatological first date for much of the Corn Belt of our first frost. Now look at this. Those are the hot years. These are the cool years. 92, 2004, 2009, 2014. We can see that a big section of the Corn Belt won't get a crop to mature. So even though we have some heat coming in temporarily, it will be a desperately needed sustained warmer than average pattern from July through August, September, and October to let this corn crop fully mature based upon historical growing degree day units needed to get 110-day corn to mature by October 15th. If we have a cool, wet summer like we had in 2009, 2004, and 2014, and 1992, we're going to have trouble getting this crop to mature on time and have major risk of frost. I wanted to show you that analysis, okay? We'll keep you updated, of course. To finish up, Europe over the next 5 days. Look at the heat that is coming in across much of Europe and Western Russia. In days 5 through 10, that's the map on the right, big time heat that's coming over here into parts of Western Europe, but we hang on to the above average temperatures all across Eastern Europe and parts of Western Russia as well. It's only going to be cooler in this particular section. Now, just to make sure we know where we're talking about here in terms of where we grow crops, the Black Sea, of course, is in here. And everywhere that you see this color, to circle a small region, that's where we have cropland. So the Russian wheat belt is kind of right in through here. And of course, this is Ukraine. Now, the reason why I show you that is check this out. Next 15 days, European ensemble, percent of normal precipitation. The Black Sea is again in through here. This is a large section where we grow a lot of corn, soybeans, and wheat that is dry. Meanwhile, London, UK, you've been extremely wet, you're going to continue to get that. And we're even going to see some pretty nasty storms moving across parts of Central Europe over the next 10 days as well. But I'm going to come back over there to the eastern side of this image. Look at this. This is the operational European model. Black Sea again is right here. There are parts of Ukraine and parts of the Russian wheat belt I just circled here that the European model is not picking up on any precipitation. And like I said, very active pattern through Central Europe, getting up into the UK there with a lot more rain coming over the next 10 days. Finally, I just want to show you one last map. They're harvesting the safrinha crop right now in parts of Brazil. It's very dry, normal for this time of year, nothing really impeding the harvest of that crop. But let's come over to China though. The Mayu front is still firmly in place, very wet in southern China. But remember, we watched these two areas in China for rainfall. And the major cropland area south of Beijing is very dry over the next 15 days as well. I wanted to point that out to you. So that was a lot, but we're going to stop it right there, okay? We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our ag forecasts that come out at my.nutrienagsolutions.com. Check it out. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.